Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. And just before everything falls apart at the seams, I'm looking at this book today. It's from the Child Poverty Action Group. It's one of their standard works, an important work. It's called Welfare Benefits and Tax Credits Handbook for 2020 to 2021. It's in its 22nd edition. It's been written by 20 people, starting with Mark Brough and 19 other contributors. The foreword has been written by Alison Garnham, who is the chief executive of CPAG. And I think this book is extremely helpful for a very wide range of people, advisors, claimants and so forth. You will find it in libraries, you will find it in the courts as well, so it's an important book. Especially because it's dealing with a complex area, made far too complex by Parliament, who I blame very strongly for this, and the civil service. They should make these things much easier for people to understand, but they have to make it more difficult, and it's got progressively more difficult, with the aim of being to simplify things. Unfortunately, it seems to have gone the other way. Although some of the concepts are good, but the reality is it hasn't got the follow-through yet. We shall see where we go. The title I've given for our book review is Great Value and Vital for its Unsurpassed Clarity on Welfare Benefits and Tax Credits for 2020 to 2021. And let's have a look at the book here. And I'm just going to put this back because it fell down. Let's just stand that up again, because I'm also the reviews editor of the Barrister magazine. And I hope to put this in somewhere there, probably on the website. Here's the book anyway. There's the front page, no, rather the front of it, the spine, and then the back. You probably can't see too much from the back because of the reversed, the black on white. It's very difficult to read, and the print is so small I can't see most of it. You do have, though, interesting dividers all the way through for basically the chapters and the parts. It's actually the parts, and then you've got the chapter headings themselves. Let me just go to the back of the book first of all. The paper is very thin, so do take care with it. There is the index at the back. The index is by page numbering, so it's not too difficult to find things, but there's a lot of information in it. The index, as you can see, is a substantial one. I'll just get to the beginning of the index, so I can just show you where it starts. It says how to use the index, so do have a look at it. There is at the front a how to use the book as well. Then after that you've got some appendices. There are 10 of them in total. You see the last one is abbreviations used and so forth. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, because you can look at the book yourself later. There's the front page there. And then these are the authors. I can't mention all of them because there are a large number of them, 20 of them, but well-known people who've been involved in different ways, substantially in terms of advice, so this is coming to you from people who know what the problems are. There's some acknowledgements there, and then you've got the foreword from Alison, which I will refer to in a few minutes. Then you've got the content section. It's split into parts and chapters, and as you can see, the numbering is there all the way through. It's relatively easy to find. Once you've got through the contents section, there are various rates and specific information which I think will be extremely helpful for advisors, and then non-means tested benefit rates and so forth. Then you get from that to the introduction itself, how to use the book. Now, quite often CPAG have this how to use a book section because it makes it easy. If you read that, you will find what you're looking for. If you don't, you may have a few problems. There's always a little index as well, just to tell you what's in the chapter. And it says how to use the handbook and what you may be looking for. The purpose behind this is not just a book for advisors and lawyers. It's a book for people who are litigants in person, who have no money and are terrified about what is a really complicated, unnecessary complicated system. How the chapters are organised and so forth. And then chapter 1, the various steps involved in looking at various things, finding information to challenge decisions. Then we get to universal credit. I'm not going to say too much about it because even now, with the chaos that we have at the moment with the pandemic, I do not know where we're going, but that's basically an introduction to universal credit. And then it runs through, and then you've got a variety of other things, other benefits, means-tested benefits, and a whole range of other areas, housing benefit and so forth. The book is actually a very substantial work, and it runs to basically 2,000 pages today. Now, if it doesn't stand up, everything will fall down again. Seems to be okay at the moment. What do we say about the book? Well, as you gather, I'm enthusiastic about all the CPAG publications because they give us a service, and it's a very good service. I can remember the days where there wasn't anything, and it was very, very difficult because everyone was very toffee-nosed. You couldn't get any information. No one was helpful. Today, we may complain, but there is the availability of information, which there wasn't some 50 years ago. And I say that as someone who remembers it well when I first started reading law. I remember the difficulties then, and the fact that today we have many excellent books available, which makes life easier. You also have more responsible politicians who are not quite so hoity-toity, and they will therefore, generally speaking, help. I know that a number of the MPs involved, of course, are Labour MPs because they have a very large number of problems in their postbag with issues of credit, of benefits rather than tax credits. And can I say now that the reason this book I think will be very important for the next 12 months is that there are going to be a much larger number of people claiming because of the pandemic and the loss of jobs. 2 million jobs have gone, and we are looking at a very, very different landscape in the future as to what we're going to be doing. So what do I say about the book? Well, this book on welfare benefits and tax credits maintains the highest standards of the Child Poverty Action Group annual hardback publications. It's not going to stand up. I'll try and get it to stand up, but it may well, I think it's going to fall down, so I'm just going to leave it there for the time being. It is a thorough statement of what is available to applicants, and it's an incredibly detailed work at a reasonable price. I don't know how much it actually is, I haven't looked. It's £65. Well, actually that's quite good for a law book. I appreciate that it's a lot of money. You should be able to get this in your reference library. Certainly Citizens Advice will have copies. Do begin by reading the updated foreword from Alison Garnham, who is the Chief Executive of the Child Poverty Action Group. Alison writes this. She says that with families under unprecedented financial pressure, the welfare rights movement is more important than ever. Now, she's written this after the problems with COVID-19 became apparent. And she goes on, it remains clear that things will not change in the future either, because we will be battling the effects of COVID-19 for some years to come. And it will be the continuing role of CPAG to advocate for changes that will improve the social security system and for well-funded expert advice services that people need. And that's really what you're getting with the CPAG publications, and I'll talk about some other things they're doing in a minute. Therefore, we are most fortunate to have these handbooks readily available at such a difficult time for families in the 2020s. This handbook is now 2,000 pages long, and it covers the basically the financial year, if you like, 2020 to 2021. Excuse me. And there are 20 authors involved in putting the work together. The book is actually split into 12 parts, and they're separated into 77 chapters. And each chapter has a notes section at the end of the chapter, which are effective footnotes, which I think will assist further research detail for those who are advising applicants, and of course for the applicants themselves. And there are of course also 10 appendices at the back, which offer useful practical tips, additional information and advice. There's an abbreviation section and so forth. And there again, I think you will find that information will be of help. The book, of course, remains an essential resource for anyone giving welfare rights advice, and we believe that the new 22nd edition is the most comprehensive guide to what is still an increasingly complex social security system. That's polite language for saying that it is ridiculously complicated. I've said it before, and every time I say this, they seem to make it worse and worse and worse, instead of simplifying what should be a relatively straightforward system. They have to make it difficult. But that's the way it is. There's nothing I can do about that except comment, say make it simpler. And of course, nothing much will change during the dramatic and sudden change we're experiencing to social and working life as the COVID-19 pandemic continues. Now, there are some additional services which CPAG is offering during the pandemic, and it is supporting what it calls the advice community of people, including those who use the handbook, by publishing, the CPAG are publishing a series of briefings detailing the changes to the benefits system made in response to COVID-19. And these briefings are in addition to what we have at the moment with the CPAG websites. So they've got a new website which is www.askcpag.org.uk. So do have a look at that. This site offers an improved digital version of the current handbook and much extra information. I visited it and I found it very, very useful. So do visit the site yourself on a free trial basis so you get some idea of what's available. It's fully searchable and regularly updated throughout the year, and I think is a great new service for us because we are entering a new era, without any doubt, with the problems of the pandemic and the way we conduct our business and the way we interact with other people. It's going to change, and it's going to change quite dramatically. Also, what you get with the website is it has decision-making tools and appeal letter generators, etc., which will help both applicants and advisors obtain fast and accurate results, we would hope. I would only say one thing, and that is at the moment I'm finding with the lockdown that very few people are available. So I'm afraid at the moment that there is a real limit on what we can actually get by way of information. And of course, remote hearings are not the same as face-to-face. They serve a purpose, but there are some occasions in the work I do where you've actually got to have the people present. Now, let me conclude this with Alison's conclusion, which is with these words: although securing change is slower than we would like, each small success that improves the experience of claimants shows the value of the handbook, and how right she is. These titles, I think, are valuable for what will be an increasing number of applicants, clearly, in the coming years as we come to grips with the pandemic. And I make no bones about it, I think we are looking at a massive series of problems which will take some time to unravel. The publication date of the book is, this is the 22nd edition, is stated as at the 23rd of April 2020, and the law covered in the book was correct as at the 2nd of March 2020, and it includes regulations laid up to that date. Let's just have a look at the book again. It's a heavy book as a paperback. Be careful with it because it will, once you open it, the pages can sometimes come out. There's the front, there's the spine, and then there's the back again. You can see the shaded areas, just to remind you again. If I open it in the middle, this is part 6, special benefit rules. See the structure? You can see on part 5 there are notes. Those are little footnote sections at the back of the previous chapter. Then you go into the actual chapter itself. Chapter 41, benefits for students. You've then got a little index. Then you run into the key facts which are contained in the publication. Then you get the statement. So this is for students. It deals with universal credit. Then it looks at a whole range of other things. So universal credit while receiving education, who can claim, income support and job seekers allowance, for instance. So all the information is there. I think it's produced probably in the best way that we can produce it because of the nature of the information that we have. There is so much, it's so complicated. As I say, there is nothing that many of us can do other than reiterate that we do need simplification. The concept of universal credit was to try to bring some simplification in hasn't really worked in the way we would have liked. But I think looking at where we are at the moment, we will be Parliament, and what we're going to do in the future, we'll have to start looking again at the benefits system very carefully because of the sheer numbers. And I say that with some sadness, because clearly a large number of people have suffered terribly. Every family has probably got someone who's suffered with COVID-19 or died. And obviously they've suffered in other ways economically by losing their jobs, or we know of people who are. And every family effectively is in this. And it's something that we're going to have to deal with. In the meantime, again, words can't really express my gratitude to the Child Poverty Action Group for the work they do. I'm very grateful, which is why I will always review the works they send me, and I'm very grateful to have received this very recently to review. Our reviews will be in the journals and on the web at some stage, and in the meantime, a big thank you to everybody. Bye-bye.